Pokai is one of the most dynamic guys on this team, and Sione, I mean, he looks like a fullback, body type, but that guy can dunk a basketball any way you want. He's ambidextrous, throws with both hands. He's a really good receiver. He's a good blocker. He's a fantastic athlete as well. So those three guys are really taking the lead. And and then Enoch Nawahine really stepped up for us in some games last year too. So we know we can still count on him. I'm not sure if I'm forgetting anybody, but it's LJ, Sione, Pokai have been the three that have done the most this spring, and I expect all three of them to be really key players for us next year.
Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, Coach, just following up on the subject of Jake, it feels like he took some pretty significant strides last season in a lot of ways, really, but in particular in his leadership style, kind of commanding the team. Have you seen even more of a stride kind of through spring ball as he really, I mean, maybe asserts himself a little bit more going into his senior year, or I'm assuming his senior year because there are 5 million ways to find more eligibility anymore in college football. But have you seen kind of more of a leadership gain in him, I guess, for the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, I have. And I think, when Jake's he's got a pretty aggressive personality. And I think when he first got here, first of all, he hadn't done anything yet, and teammates didn't really know him. And I think a lot of his teammates didn't really get him yet. I don't know a better way to say that, but I think as time has gone on and he's grown in our program and produced in games, when you produce in games, you sort of earn the right to go say something to your teammate if it needs to be said. And Jake's really learned to manage that part of his personality where he's really brash and he's really confident in himself, and he brings a lot of juice and energy to the room. But I think he's also learned when to back off, when to put his arm around somebody. But he's a great competitor, and yes, he is without question the leader of our offense, and it shows every day.
And then just on the subject of the other quarterbacks in the room, are two of those younger players that you were talking about making pretty good strides, Trayson and McKay. They're still younger, even though I guess they've been in the program for a minute. But did you see some significant strides in them when it comes to kind of figuring out the quarterback depth chart?
Yeah, they're both improving. Both of them are better players now than they were, last season. And I think we could win a game with either one of them. I don't know which one that would be yet. It's been close. They both had more good days than bad. And I think they're both good players.
All right, we'll take our next questions from Jared Lloyd and then back to Mitch Harper.
Coach, did anyone really exceed expectations to the point where maybe you're looking at them having a bigger role than you anticipated going into spring just because of their performance?
I thought Carson Ryan had an outstanding spring. We knew he was a good player. Didn't realize how good he was, really. I mean, there was a lot of film on him at UCLA and when he played at Utah, and he did a good job. So we knew exactly, we knew that he'd been a good player, I guess, but I thought he played even better this spring than maybe what I had seen on film. So I'm high on him, and thought he did a nice job. And then just a couple of those offensive linemen, man. Isaiah Jada, he's a good player. He's a really good player. He's going to start for us at left tackle, and thought he had a good spring. It's good to get him back out there for some snaps. And but I would say, yeah, Carson's one that, and Pokai's one that had a great spring, and he shows every day just how dynamic he is, how many different things we can do with him. He's doing a good job. I'm probably forgetting someone, but those are a couple of guys that stood out.
And then was there any moment that stands out as you think back over the last few weeks where you really were like, okay, this is exactly the clicking that I'd hoped to see, or any standout moments as you think back to spring camp?
Yeah, there's been a few times where there's been a few times this spring where we have most of our best players in the huddle together on the field. And when those moments have happened, it's been, 8-10 snaps here, a few practices where we've been mostly healthy. Chase hasn't been out there all spring, but he's almost fully ready to go. But we had a huddle the other day with, Parker Kingston and Keelan Marion and JoJo Phillips and Carson Ryan. And it was, really solid O-line was in there with Jake at quarterback and LJ in the backfield. And I was like, we were moving the ball pretty well. And I thought, okay, we get a couple more pieces in here and keep developing, we have a chance to be good. And, those moments keep you going. But the rest of spring is really about taking some lumps and, some ups and downs, watching some young players develop and seeing them have a bad play, then learn from it and then have a good play, being able to learn to put a bad play behind you and then play the next play. That's what spring ball is really about. But there have been a couple of those stretches there where we get some good players on the field in that huddle, and you can tell we have a chance to be very good on offense.
Aaron, in the past, you've never been opposed to adding players out of the portal that could potentially help your offense and make you guys better. But are there particular positions with the spring portal coming up that you might be open to, or looking at prospects or looking at certain position groups to bolster the depth?
Yeah, we really like our team right now, and we're not going to be, we're not desperate to go find somebody. There's no position of need where we're just like have to have somebody right now. But we'll never turn away a player that we think can make a difference. So we're open to players that make us better, and so that's just the best way to answer that. But if we don't add anybody, I think we'll be just fine too.
What position do you feel coming out of spring is it the strongest right now? Maybe at the top end of the roster, or just the overall depth? What position do you feel is the strongest at the moment?
That's tough to say. I think I like our depth at O-line. I think we have some really good players there, and I like our receivers. Maybe could be a little deeper there, but the guys we have played a lot of football and they're good players. Really like our running backs. We've got some, 4 guys that have played in big games and produced, and so yeah, I think we're in pretty good shape. We're never gonna feel like we've arrived or never gonna stop trying to get better. But I like our depth in those positions, and tight end we're a little young, little bit, but I like those guys too. So I think I'm really confident about this team, and like I said before, we'll keep our eyes open, and if there's a player that can help us, then we're always open to that.
Okay, we'll take our last couple questions from Jay Drew.
Yeah, I got two quick ones. Aaron, what's kind of the message you're sending the guys off now into their own PRPs and things like that? What you want to see them kind of improve now that they're out on their own? And then also, when will you guys kind of start this arduous process of roster limitations, or will you wait until the fall on that?
Yeah. The answer to your first question is the message is just, we've had a good spring, but we haven't done anything yet this season. The last year was a nice season, but we're not going to sneak up on anyone this year. Everybody, we're going to have a target on our backs every week this year, being a team that had a good year last year. And so we have to be extremely diligent and hungry to prove ourselves again. And so there's nobody in our program that's going to feel like we've arrived or anything like that. We're going to keep working really hard throughout this spring and summer. And then the answer to your question about the roster, yeah, there will be some changes that'll be happening right away. And then there'll be some that probably won't happen until fall camp. And so each position group is different. Some groups have way too many bodies, and there's no way we can keep everybody around. And then there are some who aren't quite as overloaded, so you might be able to make those decisions a little bit later. It will start soon. Yes.